Ventura, I'm Dr. Chris Landon, the host of Get Moving TV. We've had a guest on our show, Tom Weaver, who is talking about bringing war memorial things to convalescent homes. And I asked him, gee, could I see what your collection? And he said, well, Chris, come on down to the man cave. So we've put out the bat signal, and Ventura, welcome to the man cave.
Hello, Dr. Landon.
Hi, Tom. Well, thank you for bringing us to the man cave. Tell us a little bit about how you started on this, and then we'll take a look at your...
Well, it's an accumulation of a lot of collectibles that I have had through the years, and of course I'm always enhancing it for my displays.
Well, let's go on in.
Okay, there's a lot to look at.
Well, Tom, tell me about this young man.
Well, this is a typical World War II Marine Corps combat. He's all done up to hit the beach. He's got his shelter half, his bayonet, his K-bar, canteens, etc. They carry an M1 Garand, and this is the 10-pocket pouch for their ammo. Also, they carry machetes for chopping the foliage, and this is actually the preferred one that a lot of Marines used to knock down some of the woodland. Some other little trivia on this is one is the Marines always never snapped their helmets because they found that when a round went off, a percussion round, it could actually take their head off as the pressure would build through the pot, so they always left them undone. The other thing is on the cover, it's got green foliage on the other side. This is reversible, and they found going into the South Pacific and the sands and beaches that they put the call out to all the ships, changed to brownout, and which they made a lot of notes on that. Another thing is my dad told me when he was hitting the beach, this is a 3-pocket tunic, and as they would crawl, sand would get in these pockets. So the Marines would, out there in the field, cut the pockets off. So it's really hard finding them with all the pockets in it for that reason. And then they would take it and actually tuck it into their trousers rather than drape it out. They carried their rough-out boots, and this guy is just ready to go. The other thing is on the M1 Garand, which is very interesting, my dad told me that they found that the Japanese knew the M1 Garand, and every time you got to your last round, it would make a ting. And they knew that they'd have a few seconds for that guy to come out and shove another clip into his rifle, so they would make an attack. My dad said what they would do typically is shoot 5 rounds, take an empty one, throw it against a rock. Japanese think that, he's out of ammo, and as soon as they pop up, all the Marines would open up. So this is so it's kind of like one learns from the other. See, they're all over the place. So, but they did what it took to survive. And we learn their ways, they learn our ways, and the best man wins.
Well, Tom, let's get moving. Maybe we're going to move on to the air now. Tom, we seem to be into a different era. Everybody's a little bigger, weapons are different.
Yes, this is a Vietnam soldier, and he's done up in the green woodland. The Vietnam soldiers, of course, had a lot of higher tech equipment, and they geared up a lot heavier. They carried more magazines, etc. And also they went to the M16. In the early part of Vietnam, they used the M14 and found out it wasn't working good in the jungle, and they went to the M16. The unfortunate thing about that weapon, when it was first developed, they found in several battles we lost many soldiers because when they come to the battle scene, the casualties were on the ground with their rifles field stripped. So they were having problems getting them to shoot, and the enemy overran them. And that's when they then became with the forward assist, so that if the round didn't go through the chamber, you could push it through. And this, saved them. Most part, everybody hated the M16 in the early years. Now they develop it quite well, and it's a great weapon. But these guys were geared out with hand grenades and naturally 45s. They had earplugs. Their helmets, of course, the steel pot, still the steel pot. What the soldiers there used to put graffiti on their helmet covers, and very Americana. the ace of spade to our enemy was kind of an insult, and the GIs would throw an ace of spade on one of the fallen enemy, and that would keep them from going to heaven. And so it was kind of to dishonor them. Everybody was doing mind games. One was, because of the climate being very damp, they had to keep our clips in these plastic bags. So they used this as propaganda to the North Vietnamese that when it's translated says that, you know, come on back, come across the border, meet you, you know, come back to your families. And they were hoping to recruit the people back from the north back to the south. But Vietnam was a tough war. I lost my brother in that war, and I used to get a lot of letters from him telling his side of it. And actually, he was really impressed with the people to where he wanted to come back after the war as a civilian to the area. But they used the handy-talkies, walkie-talkie. This is how they communicated, at least good for 5 or 6 miles. And this is a little tripod, little tripod that would go on the end of this so they could actually drop on the ground and use their weapon that way, cradled in that. So, but anyways, this is
Vietnam era.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, we have a lot of people, you know, who are missing sons and daughters now.
Oh, absolutely.
How old were you when your brother passed on?
Well, I guess a quick story on that is I tried to get into the service when I was younger, and my mother wouldn't sign at that time, and so I thought getting married would get me there quicker, and I found that it didn't because they didn't take married personnel. So my younger brother was right behind me. I did carry that guilt a while because I thought I was the one that should have been over there rather than my younger brother. And when he didn't come back, it really hit hard. But yeah, he was 19 when he was killed, and at that time I was 23. So yeah, I felt that the wrong one went because it should have been the older brother. But anyways, and it was just, unfortunately, we were just starting to be great friends because being the younger brother, I used to have to drag him around with me. And then all of a sudden we get into that period of our car interest and hobby interest became the same, and we were getting really close. So it was a misfortune. But that's what war does. It's sometimes, unfortunately, necessary to keep us our freedom. And as you can see in my man cave, I am a flag waver. I enjoy our country and I respect our country a lot. But we have a lot here. I have a lot of entertainment as I look around, and I get to touch history often.
Well, tell me more about this touching history. We talked a little bit on a previous show, but
How that began was when I was young, and my dad saw my interest in military. We'd go out. He'd take me to places, and every time I reached for something, he says, "Hold it, son. You're touching history. Respect it." I was able to keep that name. So.
We talked about just touching history. When you go to a convalescent home, you might, do you bring these young men
Exactly.
along?
What I do is I bring some of my mannequin forms and sometimes the big guys, if I have room there. And I find that with the old vets, especially in the dementia wards and Alzheimer wards, visual and touching things gives them their history back because they remember things. They may not really be into what's going around them that day, but when they come up and they touch a helmet or a simulated rifle or a piece of field gear, I've had conversations where they just strike up and they can tell me where they were, what they did, and what their rank. And then they'll go get plaques off their wall and say, "This is me," and their awards and medals that the family has done up for them. Which really makes me feel good that I can stimulate that memory and give their history back for maybe a short period, but they get it, yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
So they get to touch their own history.
They get to touch their own history there, or they can reflect on it, which is really nice. So.
All right. Well, we're going to get moving on to the rest of this man cave. So come on, Tom. Let's take a look at some other things.
There's a lot to look at. Well, you don't be a slave if you ask me to. But if you don't behave, I'll walk right out on you. If you don't want my love, take my advice. Dreamin' eyes make me feel at home. If you really care, scratch my back and run your pretty fingers through my hair. If you don't be your slave, if you ask me to. But if you don't behave, I'll walk right out on you. If you want my love, then take my advice. Dreamin' eyes, dreamin' eyes. If you really want my lovin', treat me nice. When I walk through that door, baby, be polite. You're gonna make me sore if you don't greet me right. Don't you ever kiss me once, kiss me twice. Dreamin' eyes. I know that you have been told if you're not to tease. So if you come on cold, I'm really gonna freeze. If you won't want me to be cold as ice. Dreamin' eyes make me feel at home. If you really care, scratch my back and run your pretty fingers through my hair. If you be your slave, if you ask me to. But if you don't behave, I'll walk right out on you. So if you want my love, then take my advice. Dreamin' eyes.
All right, Tom. Well, tell me about these dog tags.
Well,
God, no, not the dog. Oh, Doc, not the dog tags. Oh, Doc. Come on, can't we move on to something else? We're not supposed to mention the dog tags. All right? Try it again.
All right, Tim. All right.
Ask me to. But if you don't behave, I'll walk right out on you. So if you want my love, then take my advice. Dreamin' eyes. World War.
Cut!
If you really want my love, treat me nice.